Hello Anashe and welcome back to Let's Read Ancient Spells. And today we're going to read Ancient Greek and Rome cursing tablets. Now, let's talk about cursing tablets in general before we read them. The first thing that one needs to know about cursing tablets is that it's a very long, winding tradition. The oldest one that we have seen is 600 BCE and the most modern are 800 AD. That means that it's like more than 1,000 years people have been performing and making hexing tablets, cursing tablets. And this is really something that I didn't find any mention in contemporary witchcraft. I didn't see anything that talks about this, even though it's like, it's like traditional European magic, and it really needs to be addressed. It really needs to be learned. Now, we have in our possession over 1,600 curse tablets. And please do remember that during the times of ancient Greece and Rome, this was a death penalty offense to create such magic, such pharmakia. And it was called in Latin difaxio, something that ties down. And the most common material used for these was lead, and it was usually lead that was stolen from a public pipeline that was used as a sewage or as an irrigation system, allegedly because people, it's like by harming the public, by harming the police, by harming the society, it's easier to invoke more chaotic, violent forces. And many interesting gods and deities appear in those tablets. Hecate, of course, but not as much as Hermes. I read like a few hundred of those curse tablets, and like Hermes is like repeatedly there. Demeter and Persephone also appear in those cursing tablets. The Furies, Hera sometimes. And in one of the most famous cursing tablets, Seth, the Egyptian god Seth, appears in it. Even though it was found in ancient Greece, showing us, the great amount of social exchange of the knowledge of magic and witchcraft, and how, Egyptian magic influenced Greek magic and back. Now, there are 5 kinds of genres of those cursing tablets. Let me tell you about them. One of them is litigation curses. The litigation curses are casted by persons that are being persecuted in a court of law against the one that persecutes them. It's usually a very I will read one. This is my choice curse for reading today. The second is competition courses. It's like basically you were hexing the other side that you were fighting against or competing against. The third kind is trade curses. Like for instance, if you are a pot maker, you want the other pots maker to ruin their pots or have accidents so you can sell all your pots. Fourth is erotic courses, which is basically sort of a violent love spell. Let her not sit, let her not drink, let her not breathe until she comes to me or he comes to me or whatever. And the fifth are prayers for justice, meaning it's mostly like somebody stole something from me, and I dedicate that stuff for a certain deity, and may that person, suffer by that deity until the item is returned either to the temple or to me directly. Okay? And I'm going to read to you today a litigation curse. But first, let me tell you about the process of manufacturing the cursing tablets. And they found some on cloth and they found some on clay. But again, lead is the most popular material, and this is the material that survived until today because lead is one of those metals that don't really oxidize. You can find lead items like, surviving for many years. And so they would take the lead probably from a public drinking pipeline, and they would flatten it, and they would inscribe it with a stylus, which is like a contemporary, of that time pen. And after they would write the curse, it would be very important that it would be rolled. They would have to roll it to a cylinder, because the rolling is the act of twisting, and twisting is considered to be like an act of magic. Daniel Ogden, in his article in this book, Magic and Witchcraft in Europe, and this is an encyclopedia that has like 8 or 7 volumes. This is from ancient Greece and Rome. If you want to know about magic in ancient Greece and Rome, this book is highly recommended. And it's an academic book, so it's a hard read. It will take you time to read through it and to sort the information that is relevant to you, but it has many wonderful examples, and it's an anthology, so it has many authors contributing into it. And also, you can go to Canaanite and biblical societies, and like through all the upheavals and changes of witchcraft and magic in Europe. And it also takes you to contemporary North America, that talks about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how it contributed to the meaning of witchcraft today, in that day, in contemporary day, for instance. So anyway, the twisting was important because this was what made the tablet magical, and it was like part of signifying it is something that is sacred to Hephaestus or Vulcan, because he was born with a twisted leg. So by making it twisted, you make it something that is associated with the god of magic. And this is his theory. I don't necessarily accept his theory, but it's an interesting theory, because none of those tablets actually, only one tablet out of the 1,600 had a mention of Hephaestus as a hexing god, and it was found in Syria, really in the outskirts of the empire. So I don't really think that this might be the case, but it's a theory. And then there was a nail driven through it, puncturing it. And this was important because this was basically doing the act of tying something down, nailing it down. And then ultimately it was buried in the hand of a corpse, like either a corpse that died a natural death, or corpses that were known to die in other certain circumstances, or sometimes they were given to the ancestor of the person doing the curse, in order to have their ghostly help from the beyond, basically. So let's read one of those hexing tablets. And I'm reading that Cursing Tablets from Cursing Tablets and Binding Spells from the Ancient World by John G. Gagger. Okay, this is the book. And this is a litigation curse. If you want me to read a curse in any of the other genres, please mention in the comments below, and this would be our next Let's Read Ancient Spells. And this Cursing Tablet had 2 sides, and on side 8 it was: I inscribe Selintorius, the tongue of Selintorius, twisted to the point of uselessness stood for them, and I scribe, twisted to the point of uselessness, the tongue of the foreign witnesses. And on side B there is: I inscribe Timasoi, and the tongue of Timasoi I twisted to the point of uselessness. I scribe Tirana, and the tongue of Tirana twisted to the points of uselessness for all of them. So this is, you can see the text, hopefully. Okay. This is the text. This is the Cursing Tablets. This is a Cursing Tablet. And this is it. A very ancient way of hexing that, that we can somewhat repeat today. We don't have to bury it in the graveyard, even though, we can bury it next to the graveyard. There are other deposition sites. You can throw it down a well. You can put it next to your victim's house. You can do many ways to modernize those hexes. Okay, so let the past not be forgotten. Our ancestors had the same problems that we did. Let's remember them, and let's use that knowledge and pass it to the next generations. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Goodbye, Nashe.